The Ubisoft formula. If you have been playing Ubisoft game for a long time, you may have noticed that almost every game feels exactly the same as its predecessor. The Far Cry franchise and the Assassin's Creed franchise are just two examples of the Ubisoft formula. Make a big open world, make the players unlock areas, and progress the story with the same mechanics of the game that has been running for decades. It's not a bad formula, but it is getting overused. Recently they released a new game based on James Cameron Avatar, and those who have played the game have said that it feels like a Far Cry with blue people. So that Ubisoft formula still runs deep even in the new titles. But there's one game from Ubisoft that is completely untouched by this Ubisoft virus. It is one of my most beloved series since childhood. I'm talking about Prince of Persia. Before I tell you what is going on with the remake that was announced back in 2020, let me tell you about the birth of this franchise and how Ubisoft acquired it. So, the first two Prince of Persia were published by Broderbund in 1989 and 1993. These were 2D games designed and implemented by Jordan Mechner, the original creator of the series. Then in 1999, Prince of Persia 3D was released, which was developed by Mindscape. It was the first 3D installment in the franchise and the final game in the trilogy that started with the original 1989 game. It was not until 2001 that Ubisoft finally bought the rights to the franchise and rebooted it. Jordan Mechner's series' original creator were initially unwilling to return to the series, but after Ubisoft showed their concepts and their assets, Mechner was impressed and came on board as a creative consultant, eventually becoming the game's designer and writer. That was the time Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time was born. It released in 2003 on multiple platforms, and by March 2004, sales of Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time had reached 2.4 million copies. It was awarded Best Game of the Year at 2003 E3 show. After seeing the success, Ubisoft has since developed 4 additional entries in the series. Prince of Persia: Warrior Within came in 2004, which is a direct sequel to The Sands of Time. Upon release, the game was well received by critics. It improved combat, level design, story, and soundtrack. However, some people had mixed reactions as the writing and the art design was more darker than The Sands of Time. Even then, in its debut month, it sold 1.9 million copies. Then in 2005, Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones was released. This was the final chapter of the Sands of Time trilogy. In this last chapter, Prince returns to his home in Babylon and finds out that his actions in Warrior Within have undone the events of the Sands of Time, creating a new timeline. The game received a positive review from multiple sources and surpassed 1.5 million copies in its debut month. Ubisoft, after doing a trilogy each year, was done with the Prince, or that's what everyone thought. Ubisoft wanted another sequel for the Prince of Persia. The Ubisoft Montreal team decided to take the gameplay from the Sands of Time into an open world approach. They researched secret societies, which led them to focus on the Order of Assassins. They then developed a narrative where players would control an assassin escorting a non-playable prince, leading them to call the game Prince of Persia: Assassin, which later the marketing team suggested the name Assassin's Creed, playing off the creed of the assassins, and that's how Prince of Persia gave birth to Ubisoft's biggest franchise, Assassin's Creed. Prince of Persia also had a film adaptation with the same name starring Jake Gyllenhaal as the Prince Dastan. It was released by Disney in 2010, which intended to be the start of a new franchise similar to that of Pirates of the Caribbean films. The disappointing box office returns combined with mediocre reviews and dissipating interest in the games doomed its franchise prospects. Ubisoft tried to reboot Prince of Persia in 2008 and 2010, which also received well with the critics, but eventually dropped the idea because Assassin's Creed was doing so well with the sales that the company shifted all its major resources towards Assassin's Creed, and the rest is history. That is the whole story of how Prince of Persia started strong and dug its own grave when Ubisoft released Assassin's Creed. Since then, there have been a number of spin-offs and games for mobile devices, but that's about it. As a kid, I played the Prince of Persia trilogy by Ubisoft and I loved every last one of them. Since then, I was hoping for a good reboot or a remake, and after waiting for so many years, they finally announced a remake back in 2020. The initial reveal got so much backlash that the Ubisoft almost scrapped the project. After going through some article, it was clear that Ubisoft is not treating the remake as it should be treated. The development till now had been a total disaster. First, higher up pushed for the Indian studios to get the remake as their first major primary project. Ubisoft Pune and Mumbai started working on the remake. Word came from the top that the Sands of Time remake was to be created using Ubisoft's own Anvil Next 2.0 engine. Anvil Next 2.0 was an engine primarily made for open world games, which it did account for the basic jumping and climbing we see in AC Origins. The Prince of Persia game consists of more complex parkour, wall running and acrobats within relatively confined spaces, none of which was suited the game's engine capabilities. On top of that, Pune and Mumbai studios are support studios. None of the developers there were familiar with the engine. After reveal, it got delayed from January to March 2021 to meet the standards. Sometime in August 2021, the Indian studios received a call. A Ubisoft executive told them that they were no longer developing the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake. The project would be outsourced to a UK-based studio called Electric Square. They faced the same problems Ubisoft India did, and Ubisoft wasn't happy with their progress either. Finally, Ubisoft Montreal has taken over the job and will be building upon the works put in by Ubisoft Mumbai and Ubisoft Pune. Latest news by Prince of Persia X account stated that the project has passed an important internal milestone and development is progressing. If they take inspiration from games like God of War 2018 or Rise of the Tomb Raider, I think it has the potential of being one of the best remake, different from any Ubisoft games we have seen in decades. Anyway, all we can do is wait and hope they treat the Prince better and make a good remake. And that's it for the video. Please like and subscribe, it would mean a lot, and thanks for watching. Peace.